Sturgis did not merely slow down this year. It looked like the rally died halfway through the week. Opening weekend brought crowded streets, motorcycles everywhere, and all the energy people expected. Then it vanished. Riders started leaving, traffic dropped, vendors felt the slowdown, and the atmosphere changed almost overnight. Weather, timing, and cost were blamed. But those explanations do not reveal the full story. Something deeper appears to be happening at Sturgis. The name still carries weight, but the rally no longer looks untouchable. If this was more than one bad year, Sturgis may already be entering a decline riders never thought they would see. Stay until the end, because what happened this year could change how riders look at Sturgis for good. The week broke in half. The 86th Sturgis Motorcycle Rally did not start like a disaster. Official South Dakota Department of Transportation counts showed Friday and Saturday slightly above their respective previous 5-year averages. Then the pattern reversed. Sunday slipped below average. Monday weakened further. Tuesday continued the decline. By Wednesday, traffic was 23.6% below the corresponding 5-year average. Thursday remained substantially below average. Final vehicle entries reached 448,166, roughly 10% below the previous 5-year average. That total matters, but the shape of the week matters more. Hundreds of thousands of vehicles still entered Sturgis, so calling the rally empty would be nonsense. The real anomaly was the loss of momentum after a respectable opening. If the rally had been weak from Friday onward, the explanation could be simple. Fewer people decided to come. Instead, the early numbers held up before the later counts deteriorated. That raises a different question. Did people arrive and leave sooner, or did visitors expected later in the week never materialize? Traffic counters cannot answer that. They only establish that the weakness was measurable rather than somebody's impression of a quiet street. Something changed after opening weekend. Total attendance can conceal where the real weakness appeared during the rally as it unfolded. Finding out why starts with a calculation made long before anyone reaches Main Street: the Sturgis Premium. Getting to Sturgis can become expensive before anyone buys a shirt or orders a drink. For many visitors, South Dakota means serious highway miles. Those miles bring fuel, lodging or camping, meals, and occasional repairs. Once someone arrives, food, entertainment, merchandise, and other expenses keep the meter running. One attendee in the supplied first-hand account estimated spending roughly $800 on fuel between her van and motorcycle during the trip. That is one person's experience, not an average. She also described an earlier rally when severe weather sent her searching for a Deadwood hotel room. The cheapest option she found that night was nearly $600. Again, that illustrates peak event pricing. It does not establish a typical room rate. The important distinction is affordability versus value. Someone can have the money and still decide the experience is not worth the total bill. Fuel alone may be manageable. Camping may be manageable, meals may be manageable. Stack everything together, and another full rally week starts competing against other trips, maintenance, and everything else demanding disposable income. That does not mean riders stopped caring about Sturgis. It means enthusiasm does not automatically override arithmetic. That is where the Sturgis Premium becomes meaningful, not as one shocking charge, but as accumulated expense over days. Price explains one decision before departure. The calendar can determine how long that decision lasts. If you appreciate motorcycle stories that separate real numbers from all the noise, hit like and subscribe. And tell us in the comments whether Sturgis still feels worth the trip to you, especially if you've experienced the rally yourself firsthand. The calendar squeeze. Sturgis begins on the first Friday of August, and in 2026 that placed the rally relatively late in the month. A few days on a calendar can look meaningless until they collide with work schedules, vacation limits, school preparation, family obligations, and plans, already waiting at summer's end. There is no traffic counter, capable of telling us how many people left because Monday morning was calling, so the calendar should not be presented as a proven cause. The first-hand account supplied for this story did, however, describe a noticeable departure later in the rally, and raised scheduling as one possible pressure. The useful distinction is arrival versus duration. Someone can want Sturgis enough to make the trip, arrive for opening weekend, ride the Black Hills for several days, and still leave earlier than during a more convenient year. That person attended. Yet fewer days on site can make the middle and back end of the rally feel noticeably lighter. That possibility fits the week's unusual shape without pretending to solve it. The issue may not only be whether people came, how long they could realistically remain matters too. For a long-distance visitor, even a few lost days can change whether the entire planned trip still fits comfortably for them. Schedules can pull people toward home. Conditions outside anyone's control can make leaving even easier to justify. When the weather turned, then the Black Hills added another complication. Rain and severe storms affected parts of the riding area, including hail reported around the region. The supplied first-hand account describes a nasty hailstorm near Nemo, while the rider staying around Keystone caught the edge of it and described frightening conditions. Anyone traveling on two wheels understands the practical difference. Rain changes visibility and traction. Hail creates another problem entirely. A storm crossing a planned route can erase an afternoon of riding. Bad conditions around a campground can change plans quickly. For someone already deciding when to head home, an ugly forecast can settle the argument. Weather still cannot carry the whole explanation. Sturgis has never required perfect skies. Riders have dealt with heat, rain, wind, and rapidly changing Black Hills conditions for years. Blaming the rally's weakness on one storm would be far too convenient. Its significance comes from arriving alongside other independent pressures. The week had already moved beyond its strong opening. Some visitors faced scheduling decisions. Others were evaluating how long they wanted to remain. Unfavorable weather added reason to alter plans. They cannot explain the deeper observation heard from people who were there. Even with motorcycles everywhere, Sturgis itself felt different. The corporate layer, ride through modern Sturgis, and the commercial presence is impossible to miss. Manufacturer displays sit beside vendor corridors, sponsored spaces, billboards, branded stages, and advertising competing for attention. None of that means corporations suddenly took over the rally. Businesses have surrounded Sturgis for decades, and an event this large needs commercial support. The tension is subtler. At some point, sponsorship can stop feeling like something surrounding the gathering and start feeling like part of its identity. One visitor sees useful access to products, demonstrations, entertainment, and companies gathered together. Another sees an experience increasingly packaged around logos and promotions. Calling Sturgis too corporate therefore misses the harder question. Commerce itself is not new. Vendors, manufacturers, bars, campgrounds, and local businesses have always had reasons to make money when motorcycles arrive. What matters is whether that commercial layer has become more noticeable than the culture underneath it. There is no official number that can measure that feeling. A gathering can keep the same roads, motorcycles, and traditions while changing how it feels to move through them. Scale requires money and organization. Those things keep a massive event functioning. Yet the more visible that machinery becomes, the easier it is for some visitors to notice the production instead of the gathering. A different change happened without adding one billboard. Sturgis stopped being something you had to travel there to see. Everybody can see it now. There was a time when seeing Sturgis meant physically going there. Stories came home with the people who made the trip. Photographs showed pieces afterward. Much of what happened in the Black Hills remained something you experienced firsthand or heard about from somebody who did. That barrier is gone. YouTube can show Main Street from end to end. Social media posts appear while the rally is happening. Live streams put viewers beside the crowds from hundreds of miles away. Daily videos show rides, campgrounds, motorcycles, restaurants, concerts, and nearly every recognizable stop. Watching Sturgis is not equivalent to being there. A screen cannot reproduce riding through the Black Hills, hearing motorcycles around town, or meeting somebody unexpectedly on the road. Physical experience still matters precisely because it is physical. What changed is the mystery. Someone considering a first visit no longer has to imagine a packed Main Street. They can watch it. They can study routes, inspect famous stops, and form opinions before packing anything. That creates a strange trade-off. Greater visibility keeps Sturgis culturally present far beyond Rally Week. Constant access can make the unknown feel familiar before someone arrives. It changes what discovery means. Seeing everything is not experiencing everything. Familiarity still changes expectations, especially after someone has already made the trip. The first visit competes with imagination. Every return visit faces a tougher opponent: memory. The repeat rider problem. A first trip to Sturgis has an advantage no organizer can manufacture twice. Everything is new. Main Street is new. The Black Hills are new. Even ordinary moments can feel significant because they belong to a trip someone may have imagined for years. Return several times and the comparison changes. Sturgis is no longer competing with photographs and stories. It is competing with previous trips, including the one remembered for better rides, stronger atmosphere, different friends, or simply more surprises. That is not an age problem. Familiarity changes almost any destination. The better someone knows a place, the easier it becomes to recognize what still feels special and what has become routine. That creates a challenge hidden inside Sturgis's success. Repeat visitors know where they want to ride, what they want to skip, and which experiences deserve another day. Their expectations can become more selective, precisely because they know the rally well. A first-time visitor might happily spend hours absorbing Main Street. Someone returning for the 10th time may prefer a favorite road, meeting friends somewhere quieter, or bypassing something already experienced repeatedly. Neither approach is more authentic or meaningful. Familiarity can reduce novelty without reducing affection. Someone can still love Sturgis while needing a stronger reason to repeat the same version of it. Experience changes expectations. Out on the roads, another tension becomes much less subjective. Freedom meets enforcement. Sturgis sells an image of open roads and motorcycles stretching toward the horizon. Put that many vehicles into the Black Hills, however, and freedom meets traffic control, speed enforcement, crash response, and officers managing roads that can become unforgiving quickly. The Highway Patrol tally recorded 1,709 citations and 4,572 warnings. It also listed 39 injury accidents, 3 fatal accidents, and 3 fatalities. Those figures need context. Citations were higher than the comparable previous year tally, while warnings were lower. Injury accidents and fatalities were also lower than the previous year figures shown by the Highway Patrol. That does not prove enforcement produced the difference. It simply prevents the numbers from supporting a conclusion they cannot establish. From a rider's seat, visible enforcement can still alter the feel of a road. Watching speed closely, encountering patrol vehicles, or navigating temporary controls can make a famous route feel less spontaneous. Authorities face concentrated traffic, unfamiliar visitors, difficult roads, and serious consequences when mistakes happen. Both realities can exist together. Frustration does not make enforcement pointless. Safety concerns do not make every restriction feel natural behind the handlebars. That tension completes a larger picture. Modern Sturgis sits between spectacle and familiarity, enormous scale and personal freedom. Once the experience changes, businesses face a separate question. What is that enormous gathering actually worth to them? Vendors hesitated first. Before the 86th rally officially opened, one business indicator was already pointing in the wrong direction. An August 3rd count reported 156 temporary vendor licenses in Sturgis, compared with 206 in a July 29th snapshot from 2025. Food licenses stood at 15 versus 41, while tattoo and body-piercing licenses were 38 versus 75. Those dates are not identical, so this is not a clean final-year comparison. Applications can arrive late, categories differ, and a pre-rally snapshot cannot tell us how profitable any vendor eventually became. Still, the direction matters because these decisions happen before sellers know exactly what kind of week they will get. A temporary vendor commits to more than merchandise. Space has to be secured. Inventory has to arrive. Workers need to be scheduled. Equipment, displays, permits, and logistics have to be arranged before the first customer walks up. The city of Sturgis also requires temporary businesses operating within city limits to obtain licenses for their vending locations. That makes early participation useful as a confidence signal, not proof of collapse. Some businesses were apparently approaching the 86th rally more cautiously than the comparable pre-rally picture suggested the year before. Smaller sellers had reasons to measure the gamble carefully. Major motorcycle brands were making a very different calculation every year. If you want more straight motorcycle coverage built around evidence instead of rumors and headlines, subscribe to Motorcycle Heads. We're following the changes happening across rallies, dealerships, manufacturers, and riding culture, so you can understand where the motorcycle world is heading next. Why brands still come. If the rally carries uncertainty, the obvious question is why major manufacturers still invest heavily in showing up. The answer becomes clear when you look at what Sturgis gives them: an enormous concentration of motorcycle enthusiasts already thinking about motorcycles for days at a time. Harley-Davidson's official 2026 program included demo rides at 5 Black Hills locations, displays, organized rides, merchandise, and the public debut of the Deadwood motorcycle. Indian Motorcycle scheduled demonstrations throughout Rally Week, with locations in Sturgis and Spearfish Canyon, plus owner activities and a downtown display. That tells us something important without pretending we know how many motorcycles were sold. Manufacturers do not need every visitor to sign paperwork for the rally to have strategic value. Riders can sit on a machine, take a demonstration ride, compare details in person, talk with representatives, and see what other owners are paying attention to. Few ordinary dealership weekends can concentrate that much direct feedback in one place. Sturgis becomes part showroom, part field test, and part giant conversation about what riders actually notice. That is why softer behavior matters even when the streets still look busy. A huge audience guarantees attention. It does not guarantee what that attention becomes afterward. For manufacturers, the hardest competition may not be parked under another brand's tent. Sometimes it is waiting back home. The bike already works. Picture the end of a long motorcycle trip. The machine rolls into the garage dirty. The bags come off. Bugs cover the fairing. Something might need cleaning, tightening, or servicing, but the motorcycle did exactly what was asked of it and brought its owner home. That creates a problem no flashy display can easily solve. What does a new motorcycle have to do better than a machine whose behavior is already understood? A familiar touring bike comes with knowledge that never appears on a specification sheet. The owner knows how it feels after hours in the saddle, what noises are normal, what has already been repaired, where the maintenance weak points are, and how the machine behaves when loaded for a trip. There may also be no monthly payment attached to it. That does not make a new motorcycle undesirable. It simply raises the burden of proof. More technology or a different dashboard means little if the motorcycle already in the garage remains comfortable, dependable, and trusted. Sturgis puts new machines directly in front of riders, which is valuable. Yet it also provides a brutal real-world reminder of what existing motorcycles can still accomplish. Thousands arrive on machines that have already earned their owner's confidence. Deciding to replace a trusted motorcycle is one hurdle. Wanting another bike opens an entirely different marketplace. The used bike alternative. Suppose the decision has already been made. Another motorcycle is coming home. The manufacturer still has not won the sale, because a new showroom model competes with something much larger than the current model year. Used motorcycles give buyers access to familiar platforms, discontinued configurations, previous generations, private sale machines, and late model examples that have already absorbed part of their depreciation. For someone who knows exactly what he wants, age alone does not make a motorcycle irrelevant. That makes the competition unusually broad. A new touring motorcycle can be compared with a lightly used recent model, an older machine with a proven service history, or a motorcycle whose previous owner already added luggage, protection, comfort upgrades, or other useful equipment. Used does not automatically mean better. Condition matters. Maintenance records matter. Poor modifications can become expensive problems, and a cheap purchase can stop being cheap quickly. The point is choice. A buyer interested in another motorcycle can look far beyond the newest machines displayed during Rally Week. Sturgis can place manufacturers in front of a massive motorcycle audience, and that remains powerful. Yet visibility, vendor confidence, owner satisfaction, and actual purchasing are not interchangeable. The bigger challenge appears when the rally itself has to compete with completely different ways to spend time on a motorcycle. Smaller can be enough. Not every motorcycle gathering needs to swallow an entire town to matter. A regional rally, club event, weekend meet, or organized ride can offer something the mega rally cannot. A smaller social circle, fewer competing attractions, and more time centered on the motorcycle itself. Riding time is finite. A person with several open weekends can choose a famous national event, a state rally, a gathering built around one kind of motorcycle, or simply a few days riding with friends. Those choices are not lesser versions of Sturgis. They are different experiences. A smaller event can make meeting people easier. The same faces appear more than once. Group rides can feel less anonymous. Someone can arrive without a detailed plan and still understand where the day is going. For some people, enormous scale is the attraction. For others, scale becomes something they work around. That gives Sturgis competition that is easy to overlook. It is not only competing with Daytona or another famous name. It competes with every motorcycle weekend capable of delivering a memorable ride, good company, and a reason to leave home. The choice becomes less about which rally is biggest and more about what kind of experience someone wants from limited days on the road. One alternative sits surprisingly close to Sturgis itself because the landscape that made the rally famous never completely packs up. The Black Hills Paradox. The Black Hills do not disappear when the rally ends. Iron Mountain Road still twists through the landscape. Spearfish Canyon still delivers the curves, rock walls, and long views that make riders point motorcycles toward western South Dakota in the first place. That creates an unusual advantage for Sturgis, and an unusual problem. Many events need the event itself to justify the destination. Here, the destination can justify the trip without the event. A rider can build several days around the Black Hills, Mount Rushmore area, Custer State Park, Spearfish Canyon, and surrounding roads without making Rally Week the centerpiece. The motorcycle still gets used for what it was built to do. The scenery remains. The road remains. South Dakota remains the destination. That does not make Rally Week unnecessary. Sturgis adds something the landscape cannot provide by itself: the concentration of motorcycles, people, traditions, and that unmistakable sense that one place has temporarily become the center of American motorcycle culture. Still, the geography creates a choice. Someone drawn mainly by riding can choose the same region at another point in the season and experience a different kind of trip. Few rallies have surroundings strong enough to compete with their own event. Sturgis does. That paradox makes the future harder to judge from one unusual year, which is why the most revealing evidence has not arrived yet. The 87th test. 1 year makes a story. 2 begin showing whether that story has a direction. That is why the 87th Sturgis Motorcycle Rally matters beyond whatever crowds appear in South Dakota. The useful question will not be whether Main Street looks busy in a photograph. One packed image proves little about an event spread across days. Stronger evidence comes from independent indicators moving together or refusing to. Vehicle entries will matter, especially the shape of activity across the week, rather than only the final total. Vendor participation can show whether businesses approach the event with greater or weaker confidence. Manufacturer presence can reveal whether major brands continue treating Sturgis as an essential place to meet riders. Repeat participation is harder to measure cleanly, but it matters. Organizers, local businesses, surveys, and reporting can help reveal whether people who already know Sturgis put it on their calendars. No responsible prediction can tell us what those indicators will show. The point is knowing what deserves attention before another headline arrives. If several measures strengthen together, 2026 may look like an unusual year. If weakness persists across different measures, the argument for deeper change becomes harder to dismiss. Until then, certainty is premature. The next rally does not need to save Sturgis. It needs to tell us whether the 86th was a detour or the beginning of a different road. So, what happened? So what actually happened at Sturgis? There is no single culprit waiting behind the story, which may be the useful answer. The rally remained enormous. Motorcycles still poured into western South Dakota. People crossed state lines and beyond because Sturgis still means something an ordinary weekend ride does not. Yet, a legendary name does not freeze an event in time. Expectations change. Choices about where to ride, gather, and spend limited time keep expanding. An event can remain culturally important while the relationship people have with it becomes less automatic. Calling Sturgis finished would ignore the weight it still carries in motorcycle culture. Pretending nothing is shifting would be equally lazy. The possibility between those extremes is simpler. Sturgis remains important, but its reputation alone may no longer guarantee the same response from everyone. Picture the final motorcycles leaving South Dakota. Some turn east, some west, some south. Later, they disappear into garages. Some owners will already be thinking about returning. Others may feel satisfied having done it once, or enough times. Someone else will be planning a first trip after years. Those very different reactions can coexist. The 86th rally did not announce the death of Sturgis. It exposed a question about what keeps a legendary gathering relevant after becoming familiar to generations of riders. Being legendary gets people interested. Remaining worth the trip is what brings them back. Sturgis may not be gone, but this year proved that even the biggest rally in America can lose its grip. The crowds still came, yet something changed once opening weekend was over. Whether this was one terrible year or the start of a deeper decline will become clear soon. What do you think happened at Sturgis, and would you still make the trip? If you enjoyed this breakdown, like the video, subscribe to Motorcycle Heads, and comment below.